Welcome, everybody, once again to Channel Vision Podcasts right here on channelvisionmag.com. I'm managing editor Brady Hicks, and today we have a very special guest joining us from Sage Management, LLC. We have the president, Scott Johnson. Scott, how you doing today?
Great, Brady. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you specifically about blockchain, Scott, and all the developments with that recently. But before we kind of do a deep dive into blockchain, I have to ask you first off, would you be able to give us a little bit of a background on Sage Management?
Yeah, sure. So Sage Management was founded in 2004. We were acquired a couple of years ago by SIB. SIB, so we are the telecom division of a larger corporation that does cost reduction services for telecom, for waste, for energy, for bank and merchant service fees, and for shipping. So they really kind of have a great portfolio around top spend types that enterprises have and that can be reduced. So that's Sage Management. We started in 2004 finding money on telecom bills for carriers, for enterprises, and for federal U.S. federal agencies.
It's definitely a good service that you do. Now, as we kind of look into blockchain and a lot of the connections for the future, could you describe some of the current use cases for blockchain in telecom today?
Yeah, sure. So it seems to be that it's starting around the carrier and the wholesale market. So where AT&T bills Verizon, Verizon bills Vodafone, back and forth. And there are budgets around it. The largest carriers in the world are setting aside money to make sure that the ordering and billing lines up. And so the use case, there are two use cases, two or three use cases that are out there. One is around SLAs, or service level agreements. Sparkle, which is an Italian carrier, and Orcus, which is a South American carrier, are working towards a blockchain solution for SLA management, how they bill each other back and forth. And that's through Metro Ethernet Forum, or MEF, as it's referred. There's another use case around taxes and surcharges with Verizon and Lumen, and another with Verizon and AT&T around Ethernet. So those are three, kind of known use cases for blockchain. Most of it is around how it's billed, or at the point of order, making sure that those transactions at the point of order for wholesale providers are validated, are rated, and put into a distributed ledger. But they see those applications as going downstream towards not just wholesale, but also enterprise.
Yeah, it's really interesting. How would you say Sage Management prepares carriers for a potential blockchain solution?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It really started in our roots. So we've identified $4 billion in overbillings for our clients, and that's carriers, that's enterprises, that's federal agencies. And so, most organizations understand, most large organizations know that with telecom, there is an enormous amount of complexity and there's an enormous amount of change. And those two elements drive billing discrepancies. And so what the solution, for that is a blockchain solution. How we help is at the point of order, we have an application, it's called Infuse, that rates and validates orders. And that may seem like something that should be pretty easy to do, but based on the complexity and change in the industry, it's very difficult. And that change in complexity drive the systemic issues that blockchain solves.
Well, it can certainly be a complex thing, as a lot of people, I'm sure, realize. What sort of resources are available to the listeners, maybe if they want to further their education around blockchain and kind of understanding what it's all about?
Yeah, so I would say, the Metro Ethernet Forum is a great, it seems like that there's a lot of energy and companies are, and so it's not, Metro Ethernet Forum is not just for telecom carriers. There are enterprises that belong there, enterprises that have nodes on the blockchain for that Metro Ethernet Forum is promoting. I think that's a great resource. There's a lot of thought leadership, not just with Sage Management, but the large carriers that are out there around blockchain and how blockchain is going to, kind of be a really good tool for driving, some industry changes in telecommunications as people kind of adopt the cloud. So that's one, absolutely, I would say Metro Ethernet Forum. From my perspective, I have a couple of advanced degrees, one from Cornell, another from Georgetown. They're 6 to 8 week sessions. I would absolutely kind of say that if you can get certified in blockchain, it's a good thing for your organization. It's they're advanced classes around AI and blockchain. Those type of skills are really, we're seeing use cases that not just on ordering and billing, but on anything from a supply chain standpoint, we see as kind of very valuable. There's some podcasts out there. We did a podcast with a company around AT&T, LinkedIn. It's out there on YouTube. I think there are a number of different resources out there for blockchain as it applies to telecom.
Oh, that's fantastic. And if you as you talk about kind of driving the future with blockchain, I'm just curious, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. How do you see kind of blockchain evolving over the next couple of years, say 3 to 5 years, specifically in the telco space?
Yeah, so a great call to action now for that 3 to 5 years, I think is that's how I'll kind of frame the answer to that question. So in 5 years, there are going to be blockchain agreements with large enterprises and carriers. How enterprises purchase telecommunication services, be it Ethernet, MPLS, SD-WAN, all those new telecom infrastructures that helps people have rapidly adopt to the cloud, even 5G. That's going to be, you're going to not necessarily get an invoice for those services. You're going to order those services from the telecom provider, and you're going to enter into a blockchain agreement. And anytime you need to make a change to that network, you're going to do that move, add, change, disconnect, and it's going to be all in lockstep with the blockchain. So I would say in 5 years, it's going to be, that's going to be the environment. The prep steps for it are definitely having some type of upfront process on rating and validating those orders at the point of order. So in a normal ecosystem now around telecom expense management, you have companies, you'll order something either an Ethernet service or MPLS, and 3 months later you'll get an invoice for it. And then you'll validate that invoice. So I think that process is going to definitely change, and you're going to need to, at the point of order, you're going to have that validation engine more at the point of order as opposed to at the point of invoicing.
Well, it definitely sounds like there's a lot of kind of exciting developments in this area as we kind of move forward. You mentioned Metro Ethernet Forum, for example, if people want more information. Where else can people go online for more information on not just blockchain, but also Sage Management?
Yeah, a great place again is the Metro Ethernet Forum. We're showcased there. We have April Taylor, our SVP of blockchain. So Metro Ethernet Forum, number one, they're driving, some of the blockchain concepts and the showcases. Sage Management, so sagemi.com, SAGE Management Incorporated, MI.com is a great resource. And again, there's some LinkedIn groups that are great at, kind of giving some guide, along with higher ed with Cornell, Georgetown, University, MIT, and Wharton. Those four are a great way to kind of get educated around blockchain and what's to come with telecom.
And that's fantastic. While you're online checking out sagemi.com, don't forget to also visit channelvisionmag.com, where you can find great archived versions of our podcasts, CVTV's webinars, lots of great content right there on the website whenever you need it. And also, if you happen to read Channel Vision Magazine, be on the lookout for our March-April issue, which will feature a special 3-question sit-down with Scott Johnson, where we kind of expand on some of the issues that were brought to the surface with this podcast interview. And on behalf of Channel Vision Magazine, thank you for everybody for checking out this episode of Channel Vision Podcast.